And normally I ask, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Emerald City Hockey post-game live. But if you watched just about any part of the first two periods of this game, I think I know how it's going for you, right, RJ?
Yeah, I think there's really only one answer with this game is the Kraken get embarrassed in Utah, 7-1 loss. I mean, if you watch that game, you know exactly how it went and what there is. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot technically to break down. It's just we're here again. The 3-game win streak was nice while it lasted, but this just feels unfortunately familiar.
What a difference that 24 hours can make, huh? Like, dang. Like, yesterday it was all talking about how, you know, the coaching staff game plan for the Kings, the team was able to go out there, play with a ton of effort, really kind of grind a playoff style game out against a very good LA Kings team. And then today it's just I guess if you want to try to like label it and try to break it down, you just say that the team was undisciplined early on, and it just allowed Utah to get on the power play, score on the power play, build momentum. But even that doesn't totally feel like it encapsulates what really happened in this one.
Yeah, it just there were more layers than that of this. And I mean, I want to get to this right in the beginning because we do know there's a flu bug kind of going around the
Yeah.
team. And I mean, Philip Grubauer misses the game with this one, and he probably most likely would have gotten the start otherwise. And I'm sure he's not the only player on the team affected by that. I'm sure there are some guys that were kind of fighting it and playing through it. And normally I would just kind of throw this one out based on that. But this has happened all season. Like I really just right away want to kind of throw away that excuse because this is something we know that this team does. And I cannot chalk it up entirely to the flu bug or even the majority of it to the flu bug, I think.
Yeah. And again, it's just, it feels so, you know, we saw 24 hours ago what you were able to do.
Like, yeah, how much worse could everybody be feeling in less than 24 hours?
Yeah. So I'm kind of there with you. I think like maybe you could say that it's part of it. It's one of those layers that you talked about with this game. And you know what else has layers, RJ? The burger of the month over at our wonderful sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall.
That's right. Fantastic segue there to the Big Smack, the burger of the month at the beer hall this month. And it is kind of like it's a Big Mac, but better. It's going to be a lot bigger, I think, than a Big Mac as well. But you've got the two buns, you got the middle bun, you've got the patties, you got the cheese, you got the pickles. I don't know the song, you know, the Big Mac song where it's
the secret sauce. Yeah.
The secret sauce. But you know everything that's on a Big Mac. You got it, but on the Big Smack, but it's even better because it's a Queen Anne Beer Hall.
Definitely. And thanks to them for sponsoring Post Game Live as they do after each and every game. Kicking things off, Andrew, that was embarrassing on many different levels. So there we go. We're sticking with the levels. Let's go. Layers, levels. It's all the same. It was a tough one. This is, it's embarrassing is definitely one of the words that can be assigned to this one. I think earhead, ouch, DJ, brutal. It was brutal. I mean, at the second intermission, RJ, it felt like I had watched a full game. Like there are not many times where I'm just like, all right, thank God we got clock hit triple zeros. We're done. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, there's an entire other period to come.
Yeah, and that's why I think when I tweeted the 7-0 goal, I just said there's 22 minutes left in this game because that's the only thing that could really cross my mind at that point. It felt like the game should be over. And I think it is worth saying too, like Utah didn't give it their all in the third, as you would expect, and that's fine. Yeah. But I mean, they easily could have hit double digits had they wanted to.
Yes, it did feel that way in this one. And it was tough. And you know what? Honestly, it felt like the Kraken, they came out, they wanted to get one, right? Like they wanted to get on the board. They didn't want the shutout. You convert on a power play. Then it felt like the Kraken just played out the rest of that third period too, after they pick up that early one. It felt like a third period in which everybody was just kind of waiting to get out of there, to the point where I'm almost wondering if Lawson Krause and Ty Karche, who seemed destined to fight each other, waited until there was less than 5 minutes to fight each other so they could just skate off to the locker room and just be done.
Yeah, I think that was really convenient. As I checked the clock on that too, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of smart." I think they did want to fight each other, and you know what? If you wait till the end, there, you don't have to come back out. So it's kind of a win-win there, I guess. But talk about the third period effort too, and I really feel like in games like this, it's almost not worth talking about anything that happened to the third period. But I think this one was a bit of an exception because you have Victor Osman, but also
Yeah.
I just don't think the effort was all that great in the third either. In the past in games like this, they have scored 2 or 3, and we just didn't see the effort beyond that first goal on the power play. And I want to go into the super chat from Burnt Krem here. You know, but back to backs, that was lame af. Not sure how professionals don't play with more pride. And I just really felt like there wasn't pride from the
Mhm.
way that they were playing in this one, and especially given that Joey Decord on the second half of back-to-backs, he looked tired out there, and I think we can get to that a little bit later, but just knowing that for the guy who's battled and kept you in it all season, to not play a little better in front of him, it's part of this ongoing effort issue we've seen from this team all season.
It's part of the ongoing effort issue. Again, you gave a ton of effort yesterday. We know you're capable of it. When you choose to be, you can do it, and that's, I think, makes it all the more frustrating. Like, it's one thing if you're a team and you just can't do it, right? That's something, right? You look at a Chicago, a San Jose this year. They can't do it. They're just not good enough to do it. You're good enough to do it because you show it to us from time to time, including literally just yesterday. And then you come out and you have games like this one where, again, if you are trying to break it down, you take really bad, ill-advised penalties early on, right? You can start with the Riker Evans boarding, cross-checking, whatever it ended up being on interference. It could have been all three on Clayton Keller, and you just kind of keep taking penalties early in the game. You keep putting Utah on the power play. You're just giving them momentum. They're scoring on these power plays, and it just felt like there was no real pushback to that. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't getting up ice when it was 5-on-5. You're not getting shots on Vamelka. I mean, it seemed like there was at one point that Utah was going to pass you. They were going to have more goals than you were going to have shots on goal, just because, like, it just felt like they were the team out there really actually trying to play a National Hockey League game. And again, you might be sick. You might not be feeling great. You had to play yesterday. You had to travel overnight. You're probably working off of less than ideal amounts of sleep. But it's the National Hockey League. That's what you sign up for. That's what your job is. This is your profession. Kind of got to come out a little bit better than that. And I'm with Burnt Krem. I'm with you on all of that. And yeah, especially leaving Joey out to dry. Your MVP this year, right? Like, he has been your MVP, and he was obviously frustrated. Like, that third goal goes in, and you knew his night was basically done mentally, because he was. It's not often that we see him that visibly frustrated out there.
Yeah, exactly. And why the coaching staff didn't realize at that point that a goalie change needed to be made is beyond me. It was, I mean, it's just predictable going into the game. I guess now is probably not the time to go in on all of that, the decision to start Joey, but at that point, you have to know he's not himself. He's
Mhm.
frustrated. I think he looked tired to me. And at that point, you got to stand up for him as his teammates if the coach is going to leave him in there.
Right, and why not take him out during that first intermission? Then 16 minutes into the second, a a, a save, a savable puck goes in right off Joey's glove in a way that we're really not used to seeing. Like, again, it's another sign this is not his night. You can still get back into it at that point. There's essentially 40 minutes on the clock at that point. You can still get back into it. I really don't know why that change wasn't made then. Either Wisconsin Kraken fan with a super chat here. Appreciate all the super chats here this evening, everybody. Setting aside what happened in the first two periods, how do we feel about the goalie prospect? So we can talk about Victor Osman now. Um, I, I thought he came in, he played really well. He made some big time saves. Utah did it. It felt like test him a little bit early on. Like, they did want to see, like, okay, how easy would it be for us to maybe get the double digits here? And you know what? To his credit, he came in and he played really well, and he shut them down on those opportunities.
Yeah, easily the Kraken's best player tonight, and he looked solid. He looked impressive, and his movement laterally in the crease was better than I thought it would be
Yeah.
for a guy his size. Because that's the thing you look at when you have a big goalie. We saw him a bit in training camp too, where that was an area where it was just kind of hard for him to get side to side in a
Mhm.
clean and smooth way, as it is for anybody, with that 6'4" frame. But he looked really good with that in this game and made some big saves on some Coyotes players. And I mean, they didn't fully let up. I think you're right. right. They were kind of trying to test him to see, okay, can we get one by on this guy? And they couldn't. And also, I'm just so happy that he got an opportunity to play in the NHL because thinking about it too, and this is one of the things that really bothered me with the reluctance to switch Joey out and put Ostman in this game after the first period. I feel like this might be his only opportunity, potentially. I don't want to, be a downer about this, but potentially to ever play in the NHL, because it did take, the Grubauer thing. Remember, he's not the top goalie in CV either. That's Nicholas Coco. He's pretty far down on the depth chart. He was playing in the ECHL. That's where he's played most of his hockey this season.
Right. If Stezka's not injured, he's not even in Coachella Valley.
Exactly. And so really he's been in the ECHL. That's kind of, where he is at this point in his career. And he's 24. It's been a while since his draft year. He went undrafted. And for a goalie that kind of profiles out like that, most of those guys don't ever end up playing in the NHL or getting that shot. So I was just really happy to see him get that opportunity and make the most of it, because you never know when you're going to get another one.
Yeah, definitely excited for him. It's just like with Coco, like excited for him, but at the same time, like rough situation. Obviously that memory is always going to be pretty marred. What's going on?
I see the chat pointing out that I said Coyotes players. Yeah, my bad. Got to put a quarter in the jar.
Yeah, I was going to say it was going to happen. It's one of those things where,
they were the Coyotes players at one point.
That is true. The other thing is with him, I was also impressed with just how strong he looked down low, right? Like I'm totally with you on the lateral movement, but I also thought that he handled things down low really well, flashed the glove a couple times. Like he did look pretty solid there. So I do think that he had a pretty good night. Why not put him in earlier? Obviously, you and I are both thinking that after you see Joey after the third goal. When it comes to starting him, RJ, I mean, at this point, certainly, if the Kraken ever have to have later this season one of the young guys up to be the backup, just start them, because it sure seems like it's cursed. If you're going to start Joey and have them sit on the bench, they're going to end up in the game anyway. You might as well just start off with them, save Joey's save percentage. But I mean, why not start him? Like Joey played yesterday. You have the travel overnight. You're already eliminated from the playoffs. Like, again, it's just like with Coco and St. Louis and everything. The worst case scenario ended up playing out for you anyway. Like I don't know, maybe the reluctance to start the young guy in a spot like this.
It makes zero sense to me whatsoever why they did not start Victor Ostman for this game. I get it. He's probably mostly an ECHL goalie. You wonder, okay, well, could it get ugly? It got ugly anyway. So you don't have to worry about that necessarily. And then also with Joey Decord, I mean, this should be obvious at this point. You are burning out Joey Decord, and tonight was just more evidence of that. And I thought it was fitting that it came against the Utah Hockey Club, where on the other end, they've got Karel Vejmelka starting his 21st consecutive game. And I think this is great context. No goalie has started that many consecutive games since 2019. It's been 6 years. That does not happen. And yet, Joey Decord has played more games over the last 3 months than even Karel Vejmelka has. Decord has played 32 of the Kraken's last 38 games. Vejmelka only 30 of Utah's last 38 games. No goalie in the NHL has played more games than Joey Decord over the last 3 months. We're clearly seeing some signs here in this game of that wear and tear. Even under normal circumstances, playing both ends of a back-to-back is probably not good for a player. Mm-hmm. And we just saw the worst case scenario play out tonight, and it was all too predictable. That's what really gets me. It was predictable, it was avoidable, and they walked right into it anyway.
Yeah, and it's like a couple weeks ago, right, when Joey was starting to show some of these signs as well, and he was just not looking like himself. And yeah, he's able to make the big saves at times, but then at other times things are just kind of getting by him, or he's struggling with certain things. And they finally get to a point where Grubauer's back. They're able to start kind of working in Grubauer a little bit more. Joey's able to go through a sequence where he gets like 3 or 4 days off, and then boom, Joey was right back at it, and he looked good and everything was fine. This is a back-to-back. Like, I know it's not the guy you were planning on. You thought you were going to have Grubauer for Utah. You could start Joey yesterday, all of that stuff. You're eliminated. You are not playing for anything at this point other than pride, which guess what? You didn't go out there and play with or for at all either. So it just makes no sense not to give Joey that break. I mean, what? You're probably going to go with Joey against Vegas in 2 days. Like, right? Like we
Yeah,
all
no,
know
I'm
that
sure they
that's
will.
going to happen. I can't imagine that's going to probably end well. And you can all watch it alongside us as our live game commentary game for this month over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey. But like, that's not going to go well, right? Like, I don't understand it. I get that when you were still in it, he gives you the best chance to win. This is a team and an organization that did care about that. They want to finish as strong as possible. Nobody's going to give you a hard time if you let Joey rest in this one. You start the guy who's unproven at the NHL level, and you just go, look, second half of a back-to-back, our other goalie got the flu. It just happens sometimes, and big deal, we took an L here, right? Like, we're already eliminated. Like, nobody will care.
Yeah, and the L actually helps you. The league has set it up so that losing helps you at this juncture of the season too. And this is not just a hindsight thing with how bad the game went. If Joey started and got a shutout, it would still have been the wrong decision.
Yes.
Because, I mean, one, that win would hurt you, but also you're still risking that wear and tear on a goalie that's already played too much. It's just not worth it. Win or loss, whatever the result.
Right. Some more super chats here. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for these. Ricky, a reminder that playing well after 60 games of being mediocre is no basis for running back the same lineup for another year. Embrace the future and plan to play the kids next season. I mean, I'm with Ricky on this one. I know you're with Ricky on this one. I thought that was one of the other interesting things about this game, RJ, is the game is lost at some point, and yet we're still seeing Shane Wright out there playing with Mikey Asamont and who's on the other side, Ryan Winterton.
Yeah,
and he gets less than 15 minutes. Like, it just felt like one of those where you could have elevated certain guys in this lineup and given them some time to go out there and maybe figure something out when the stakes are now low. A lot of the pressure for the game has been taken off. Like, you can start making that adjustment in a game like this.
Exactly. And that's something that I think got lost in all the Joey Decord, why is he starting conversation, is that we have fourth line Shane Wright again. And that's not good at this point in the season, and especially against Utah Hockey Club. There's nobody you would need to shelter him from here. This is going to be kind of a wide open game. You can let him play the full complement of minutes and it's going to be fine. But instead, he's getting that fourth line role again. And at this point of the season, what are we doing?
Yeah, it just makes no sense. So I'm totally with you, Ricky. Like, this is an issue, and they've got to figure it out, because I look at certain other groups and other teams around the NHL that are kind of in a similar spot. Like, I think of an Anaheim and how they're really putting Mason McTavish and Cutter Gauthier at the forefront of everything. Not so much Leo Carlson. I think Leo Carlson's dealing with some injuries, and that's why he's been struggling as of late. But those other guys, and they're just like, go out there, play like 21 minutes. Mason McTavish, go play 21 minutes. We need you to find your game and step it up. And he has in the second half of the year, similar to the way Shane Wright was. And then they just have decided to not have Shane Wright find his game anymore. They want to bury him down the lineup. Like, you still need, if you're as an organization, if you're not going to tank and get a high draft pick this year, all of that stuff, whether you do or not, actually, you need to make sure that the guys you have already drafted that are developing, that seemingly are your future, are really your future. Like, you need Matty Beniers and Shane Wright to step it up at some point. I know they're having like fine years, but at some point they need to kick it into another gear from a production standpoint. They need to start scoring more, right? Shane Wright is going to get to, like, he's at 18 goals. He might get to 20. He's shooting 21%. He's barely getting any shots off. He's not playing that much. Is he going to be able to be much more than a 20 goal scorer next year? You're going to need him to be. You're going to need him to work on that stuff and figure it out this year. I just don't know why they haven't officially shifted focus. It felt like they had that plan, right? And then the plan kind of started to come in right around when they got eliminated. And now we're just back to that plan must really be on the back burner for a different plan that I have no idea what it is, because I don't know what giving Chandler Stevenson the most ice time amongst your centers is really doing for the long-term development of these guys and your franchise.
And I don't want to sound too pessimistic about this, but also you look at that little stretch, and really, as I'm looking at it on the Shane Wright game log here, it's like a 5-game stretch where they were actually giving them the complement of minutes. And a lot of that was just because Chandler Stevenson got injured.
Right.
I don't think that was ever the plan, to really give him
No,
a
the
top
plan
6
was
role.
like 15 minutes. That was the plan.
Yes.
And then he got some more than that because Stevie was out. But like it,
Now we're back to that
now we're
plan,
back
but
to under the 15 minutes. It's even pre the plan kicking in.
yeah, and so again, I'm not saying that I'm sure it's not going to work. I think it possibly could, and the people who are making these decisions, get paid to make these decisions. And I'm not in the NHL front office here, but I will say, and this I can say for sure, this is very different than the way that every other team is handling a similar player like this. And
Mhm.
so, different doesn't always mean bad. It might be smarter and better than the other ways that teams are handling this, but yeah, I think it is worth pointing out it is different. And so we'll see how it turns out. But if it does turn out poorly, that's what you point to.
Right. And again, it's another game, only one shot from him. Like I'd like to see him like
Yeah.
taking more shots and trying to make up for things that way. Yeah. And
And
again,
I see Viren say, whose fourth line plays 14 plus minutes? I know ice time isn't a perfect proxy. It's not, but look at the lineup. Look at his line mates.
yeah.
That's the fourth line.
Yeah, he shouldn't be right. And again, if you're trying to develop him, no like disrespect to Mikey Asamot or a Ryan Winterton, but he shouldn't be playing with Mikey Asamot and Ryan Winterton if you're focused on developing him and turning him into a higher skill player, a more creative player at the NHL level. Right. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like we're using ice time basically as a proxy for the role that they're putting him in. And the role that they put him in tonight is not the correct role, at
Yeah.
least.
And also, if you want to look at then line stats, just 5-on-5, Shane Wright is on the 5-on-5 forward line that had the fourth most ice time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Um, Mason with the big super chat. Appreciate it, Mason. No comments. Just feel like you guys could use this after having to analyze in quotes, whatever that was. Really appreciate that, Mason. That is very kind of you. And yes, it does help ease the sting just a little bit. Not gonna
It
lie.
really does. Yeah. Thank you, Mason. I do appreciate that. And there were definitely times in the third period I'm just like, why are we doing this? But the
Yeah.
post game always reminds me.
Yep. And then Chuck with the super chat here. Appreciate it, Chuck. Silver linings, Osman's cat-like reflexes. Wins by Buffalo, Boston, and Pittsburgh take a lot of the sting out of this. And it could have been worse. It's not like we gave up a 3-goal lead with a minute to play. I know there was some other references earlier up in chat about that too, about how things could be worse. Could be Dallas this evening, RJ, and that is very true. Could be worse. Could be Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, that game. Did you see it, Dylan? Did you go back and watch the highlights?
I watched the highlights when KHN played them.
Oh,
Kinda,
okay, that's
yeah.
right. That was on the intermission show. Crazy. I've never seen anything like that. We've seen some crazy comebacks from the Kraken this year.
Mhm.
That exceeds it. I know Edzo was going on and on about trying to figure out the equivalent in other sports of it, but
Yeah.
it's just got to be so improbable. I think I read it's the first time in NHL history a team's been down 3 with a minute to go and won the game.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel that it feels like it should be, right? And I know just yesterday I was talking about how it feels like everything has already happened in the NHL and everything, but that one does feel like something that wouldn't surprise me if it was the first time. And then yeah, Buffalo, Boston, and Pittsburgh all picking up wins does help offset you getting the win in LA yesterday. If you're looking at things from a team tank perspective, that is definitely good news. And then we talked about Osman earlier and kind of how strong he looked in this one. A lot of comments here to catch up on. Appreciate that, everybody. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been this unhappy watching a Kraken game, to be honest. And I don't think I've ever been this angry with the coaching staff either. I think it's an interesting one because yesterday, RJ, I was singing the praises of the coaching staff and how they were able to game plan for the Kings and kind of put together that strategy, and it paid off great. And they got the guys to buy into it for the full 60, and you walk out of there with 2 points in a big way. And then today we've obviously talked about the decision around the goaltending doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. The coaching staff's decision around Shane Wright doesn't seem to make a bunch of sense. It's also one where it felt like, again, at some point during this one, you're hitting 0 for 20 on the power play. The power play has not been good for a while now, and this is not the first time that it has hit a rough stretch that has gone on for weeks, the way that this one has. Just there's a lot of things about this that every time it feels like the coaching staff is correcting something or finding some sort of positive momentum for themselves, something else like this happens where you're just scratching your head and you're just like, how, like take a step back and you're going to see why this is not what you should be doing, right? Like just remove yourself for a second and you'll probably get a different perspective on this.
Yeah, it's been one step forward, two steps back a lot of this season, I think, from a coaching perspective. And again, I love that game plan against LA. They executed perfectly. But I mean, this one, I don't know what the X's and O's game plan of this one. And I think it's irrelevant just because if you're going to bring that little effort, it doesn't matter what the game plan is. And I just think that aside from the goaltending situation, aside from Shane Wright fourth line, because that stuff just baffling, I think, any way you look at it. But I'm disappointed that they could not. This was your last chance to kind of try and figure out the whole back-to-back problem, because it's been a problem all season. You've been getting questions about it. Everyone on the coaching staff knows, every single player in that room knows this is a thing. We need to summon the effort. Somehow we need to do it, not even to win, just not to get embarrassed. And the problem just crops up again. And I know, I mean, I'm with you, Dylan. I think we decided months ago that this is an issue with the players that have been assembled here. It's with the group of players, but I don't know. I feel like the coaching, if it just happening again, isn't entirely blameless. You just have to somehow find a way to get more of an effort out of that group. Again, not even to win, just to bring something where you don't get embarrassed.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. There's that. There's the defensive issues that have been problem all season long, and there hasn't really been adjustments to. There's been the power play, which has been a problem all year long, and there hasn't been adjustments. I know why the power play units had to change when Yanni Newman came in, and he was joined. He's on the team, and you obviously want to feature him on the power play. Why, once they sent him back yesterday, they have not gone back to those pre-Yanni Newman power play units, which were starting to work, and it felt like had something when you had like Shane Maddie and Chandler Stevenson out there together, and what they were kind of able to do and how they were able to move the puck, and Capo Caco, and you had that group kind of down low working their magic. Why have you not gone back to that? Like that felt like the one unit all year that was able to build any sort of momentum for you out there on a power play. And you've just kind of gone right back to where you were months ago, which is, let's stick like Shane Wright on the second unit, and then we'll have him like try to do too much from the bumper spot where like nobody's going to give him the puck. And it's just like, what do we do? Like, why are we back here? Why are we doing this? Like Shane Wright is he their power play leader, goal leader still? I know he's got a lot of power play goals for them. I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Trying to
He
check
is.
real
Yes,
quick.
he's still there. He's still your power play goals leader. He scored so many of those working from the outside, where he was kind of like the down low net side player, right? Like he would be in that spot, and then he could kind of whip around to the net front, and then he could score a goal, right? Like that's how he was scoring power play goals. Why did you see that and then say, let's put him in the high slot in the bumper, and we'll just have him boxed in completely by penalty killers in this role that really no team can make work all that well, just because everybody covers them all the time? Like, I just don't understand it.
And I understand in general wanting to try new things at this point of the season and kind of move guys around and see what works and what doesn't. But I think at a certain point, you've got to realize it doesn't work. And it logically makes sense, as you just explained, why it doesn't work. And the power play is another thing I think gets lost in this game, where yes, they do get one on the power play after the game is entirely over. I don't really give them any credit for that, but they get up to 0 for their last 20 before that goal. And it's been costing them games. I know they just had the win streak, but man, it's been really bad. It's kind of been back to square one for them too. I mean, you're talking about the setups in the zone, but even just getting it out of their own end, that's been difficult for them recently too. I mean, we saw a few turnovers in their own zone. Utah had some shorthanded chances. Like this is to even get into the zone has been a struggle at this point. And it feels like we're back. I don't know. I want to say back to the start of the season, back to square one, but I feel like even at the start of the year, it looked better than this.
Yeah, I mean, it's been.
I'm sorry
if
that sounded too negative. You were trying
no,
to.
no,
Yeah.
I wasn't. Like the power play is a massive problem. Like to the point where you need to rethink who is in charge of it this offseason. Like
Yes,
seriously,
something
like
has to be done.
right. I was talking about it on the deep dive. I've been talking about it here lately. Right, 5-on-5 scoring this year has been fine. It's been okay. It's been decent. Whatever word you want to use for it. It hasn't been great, but it's been enough. where you need to figure things out, where the offense can take that next step forward is on the power play. And your power play is just not good, and it's not getting better. It should be getting better as the year goes on. We've talked about this in the past. First years under new coaching staffs and new power play coaches is always the worst year, and then things get better. I would think if that trend was going to happen here, that here late in the season, we would maybe start to see the signs of it getting better and there being some improvement. And instead, we're talking about, yes, you get one, but first you went 0 for 20 before you pick up that one today in a game where Utah kind of gives it to you, right? Like, so I'm there. Yeah, there isn't really a way to positively spin the power play, in my opinion. Like, I just don't think it can be done at this point. Uh, got a couple super chats here. Kraken Hockey 32, appreciate the super chat. Who's setting the lineups, Francis or Bilesma? Is it a desperation move from Francis? It is definitely Dan Bilesma who is setting the lineups. That all, if you got issues with the lineups, buck stops with him. I really do believe that. I do wonder, though, if you're Francis, are you looking at Shane with Mikey Asimot and Ryan Winterton in the de facto fourth line spot tonight and going like, why are we doing this? Like if you're Ron, are you questioning this, or are you just letting it kind of go for the rest of this year?
Well, I mean, I think we've heard from Dan and I think a little bit from Ron earlier this season that when it comes to the handling of Shane Wright and how much he's going to play and that general plan for his development, I think Dan has told us that's a Dan Bilesman decision. That's a Ron Francis decision. That's a whole organizational decision. So you have to assume that Ron Francis is on board and a part of any general usage for Shane Wright and kind of the way that his development is being handled. That's something that the team has told us already. So I think we kind of know that.
Why then? So then, I mean, it makes it worse, right? Because then it's like the whole
does.
brain trust is coming together, and this is what you've decided.
Yes, I mean, I haven't, been shy about saying that I
know.
don't think Francis has made a lot of the best decisions, so it makes
I
sense
know.
to me.
It is tough. It is tough. Edward with the super chat, appreciate it. Fun fact, Kraken are the final non-division opponent to play at the Delta Center, if I'm not mistaken. It wouldn't surprise me just because April 8th feels like a long time to visit for the first time an arena, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, they only have 4 games left all season, so there's really only 4 slots for a team to possibly fit in there for their first time to visit.
Yeah, that's if all 4 games are at home too.
Oh yeah, that's true. They probably
Like,
not all at home.
So it's definitely something. That being said, it looked like a decent atmosphere there. It looked like people were having fun. I did enjoy the whole, you can get a random mystery haircut for a signed autograph stick. I do think like working stuff like that in with mascots is a kind of a fun thing to have a little bit more of that mascot to fan interaction, kind of all a gritty style. I am in favor of.
Yeah, and I like the Kraken broadcast kind of showing that a lot too. Of course, it timed out where there was a Utah goal right after, and you see the fan who got the haircut clapping and everything. I thought that was kind of funny. That I got a good laugh out of that one.
I did too. It was pretty funny there. All right, man, there's a lot of chat to get through, and I don't even really know where to begin here. George, I'm the biggest advocate of the tank, but WTF was that? Fusion Mix, as bad as that was, at least it's not what happened in Dallas tonight. Remember what the Kraken did to the Canucks that one time? Now imagine it happening 5 times faster. Yeah, how about the Canucks, RJ? They're not going away. There's still a chance. There's still a
Not
chance.
mathematically eliminated yet. Neither is Utah. So both of those teams staying alive tonight. Good for them.
That is true. That is true. General Pancakes, McCann makes huge goal to cut lead to 6. That is true.
I thought about captioning the tweet that way.
That would have been, probably good you didn't. It was still too fresh to the second period at that point. That being said, Berkey, great play from Berkey to make that pass.
Perfect pass.
Beautiful pass.
Not a huge window there.
No, we've been talking Andre Burakovsky showed up. That was a great play to find him there. Lots of positives here for Victor Osman and what he was able to do in this one. Zach sticking to the positive. Osman looked great and good for Karche to show some fight as he tries to make the case for a roster spot next year. I do think that that's important in this one, RJ. Ty Karche, getting into that fight, like I said earlier, I made the joke about him just kind of wanting to get out of there, but he showed something in a game where we have questioned how much something this group had.
Yeah, no, I think so. Sorry, I was looking up a stat here, so I actually didn't catch the beginning of what you said. I'm sorry.
It's just Ty Cartier, showing something by getting into the fight, like trying.
Yeah, and I think, look, if you're gonna be in that fourth line role that Ty Cartier's in, you have to do that kind of thing to just prove some value, especially with John Hayden out of the lineup tonight. Like, that's your job, Ty.
Yeah, yeah. Christian, I petitioned to change the name of the team from the Seattle Kraken to the Seattle Enigma. That certainly would fit better, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Unless each of the 8 arms of the Kraken has a different personality, RJ, and that means in any which game, you don't know which one you're getting from this group. That
We've
would
definitely
fit.
seen this arm before.
We have. It's the one we like the least. um, Lots of people questioning the decision not to play Joey in this one, and kind of what was going on there. Russ, this is good. Missed the first 55 minutes of this game, listening to this live stream like a detective trying to figure out what happened at a crime scene. Well, let us know how you're doing with that, Russ. You're certainly getting a lot.
Yeah, no, there's a lot all at once. I think we've kind of hit the main points as far as what went wrong.
Yeah, it does. It does feel that way.
Who done it? Who done it, Russ?
Yeah, yes, exactly. We have presented a fair amount of suspects, it feels like, in this
Yes.
one. Bert Krem just stopping by to hear the back-to-back excuses again. There is no excuse. Like, there isn't one. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I mean, 0-12 on the years. It's inexcusable.
Yeah. If you only count the time when the Kraken had an actually rested goalie in net, like they should have from the start, then technically this was a shutout from B. It's true.
There you go. Yeah, if you just started him.
Yes, man. Coco, what happened to Coach Jess?
Don't know. And actually, that was the stat, and then something else. I was trying to see if I could figure out if anyone has talked about what happened to Coach Jess. I hope somebody asks after the game. I don't know. Don't want to speculate, but I will just say one thing we do know is there's a flu bug going around the team. Feels like the most likely culprit to me, but I do not know.
Yeah, no, I think that would make the most sense, and I know that's what on like Discord and everything everybody was guessing it was. Lindsay, the Kraken may have lost, but my women's team won tonight. Glad I played in that instead of staying home to watch this one. Yes, definitely. Hope you had a good game, Lindsay, and congrats on the win.
Yeah, congrats on the win. That was nice, and I'm sure you did remember all your wallet and other things after the game. Didn't have to have them handed to you by a teammate.
Come now, RJ. Lindsay is not you. Most people. No,
Lindsay is the best captain in the Kraken Hockey League. Lindsay's awesome.
That. Yeah. Byron, just going to leave this here. Truth hurts sometimes does not mean if it hurts more, it must be more true. Do you like the words of wisdom there? For everything. Kraken Queen are back to back. Non-excellence continues. That is true. Let's see. Earhead, the car accident I was in on the way home wasn't the worst part of my night. This train wreck of an effort was worse. I don't know if you're just making the joke or if that actually happened, but hopefully if it did happen, wasn't too bad. And if you need somebody, call Rico.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I hope you're all right there. But yeah, if you need someone, call Rico.
Yep, just gonna leave that there. RFB Brewing 0-12 back-to-back games this season, freaking terrible. And it's 0-12-1 now, or no, 0-13-1 now. I think if you go back
dating back to last season. Yeah. It has been a while since they've won the second half of back-to-back. It's been over a year, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It has certainly been a minute. That is for sure. Kylie, dang, I was hoping for the storyline we'd get the W for our first 4-game win streak, sweep and eliminate Utah from the playoffs, and finally get a second game back-to-back win. I mean, that was a lot of things there, Kylie, that you listed. And yeah, I don't know if it was maybe just one of them, the Kraken could pull it off, but I think all of those together was just too much.
Yeah, too much to ask, unfortunately, as we saw.
Yep. Blue White Flame. I mean, asking the question, how do they beat a dominant team like the Kings then do this? I think like that's what we're all kind of trying to figure out. And it's brutal. I wish we had more of an answer for it, like a real true answer for it, but I just don't know that even the team has one.
Yeah, I am curious to see what Dan has to say because he's got to get asked about the back-to-back thing, right?
I would think so.
It's I think a very fair question at this point, and just I don't know that he would give much of an answer or have much to say, given it just keeps happening and spins. I feel like if he knew the answer and what was going wrong, it would have been fixed by now.
Agreed. Agreed.
I think that says it all, really.
Yeah. Jessica's so mad they didn't play Osman. They knew this game didn't matter, and he knew this game didn't matter. Practice for him, rest for Joey. I mean, we've been saying the same thing all night long. Let's see. Osman was great. Poor Joey was clearly exhausted. Why they start him tonight is crazy from Morgan. Agree with that. Jeremy, team tank, but didn't want it like that. Just embarrassing. I mean, it's been a while. I will say this, RJ. It has been a long time since all of chat has been unified around something just because of the difference in the people wanting the team to stay competitive down the stretch versus the, hashtag team tank people. But boy, tonight, everybody can agree on this one.
Yeah, even Team Tank thought this was a bit excessive. I think it didn't want it to happen this way. And yeah, you want to lose fun. This was not fun.
Yes. Kara, couldn't help but imagine Coco sitting back in CV feeling like he dodged a bullet. Could you imagine if he had to be up here for this and it happened again? Like, poor guy.
Yeah.
He'd never want to play in the NHL. He'd go back to Finland.
Yeah, just that's a way to lose a prospect. Just subject him to this. Although, credit to Osman, like as much as he was still, I think, kind of hung out to dry a little bit. Like he stopped every shot. He was perfect.
He was. No, he played really well. And again, I know like lots of people want to talk about that in chat and all the early comments around it. And we talked about him earlier and kind of broke down what we liked about his game. But I mean, I know like there's the attitude of like, well, there's no pressure, right? It's a lost game. Like, so you don't have that pressure on you kind of going into the game, but you have other factors working against you that you would not have had if you were the starter, right? Like you're going to have the first ever game at the NHL level adrenaline spike no matter what. Like that's happening whether you're coming in the third or if you're out there for the start of the game. It might even be easier at the start of the game, honestly, just because you're going through your normal pregame routines to be a starter and all of that. You can kind of fall back on that. I know other goalies making their first ever play in the NHL have talked about that. But you also have, you've been sitting on that bench as this game has turned into 7-0. You've been back in that locker room through 2 intermissions as this game has developed the way it has. That group in front of you and the way they're feeling and the energy that they are going to come out and play with. And you've got to come out there and go in net for that third period. I got to imagine in some ways that might be worse than if it was just starting a game from scratch and it's 0-0 and pressure's on you to not give it up.
Yeah, I think coming in, I mean, I guess as Lindsay pointing out, like in a sense, the pressure is off. No amount of bad you can do, I think, will kind of overshadow how bad the team was. You know what I mean? Nobody's pointing to you and any failure that you may have in a game like that. When you come in and 7-0, like the pressure is all off of you completely. So I guess there is, in that respect. Also, one thing I think that's pretty cool just for him is that it's kind of a win-win in this sense. Either he gets another opportunity for another NHL game, which I know is the way that he would have it, and you get to play in the NHL again, or you finish your NHL career perfect. He's 12 for 12, never allowed a goal, and you can just say that the rest of your life, which I think is pretty cool.
That is true. You do have that. And yes, like I said, I get that there's the no pressure, but also you're coming into the most rancid vibes imaginable.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have no opportunity to actually have it like end well for your team.
You can't. You're not building anything. Like really.
No. Yeah, with a start, at least in theory, if you'd play well enough, like you can get a win, you can, help your team win, which as a goalie really is all you want to do is just help your team win and give them a chance to win. You cannot give your team a chance to win tonight coming in the way he did.
Yeah, no, you just can't. I just want to go back to the days when we were matching players to Pokemon. Yes, I do too.
That was fun, wasn't it?
That's what I want. That's all this needs to be, right? Oh man, Chris, we drove 6 hours, our first game in 2 seasons. Damn, that was brutal. I am so sorry, Chris.
That is rough. I'm sorry,
that
Chris.
Is unreal how rough that is. My God, that nobody had it worse tonight than you did.
I think you should be eligible for some kind of compensation.
I was gonna say, call Rico, see what can happen there. Um, Alan, have we ever stopped to think Joey didn't want to give up the net, even if Bylsma asked? Even if that's the case, I get it, but that coaching staff should still be pinned. But it's a thought. No goalie will probably ever want to give it up. There's very few times in which a goalie is going to be like, yeah, I don't have it tonight. You can take me out of this, or I shouldn't be in still. But like, again, it's the coach's call. Like there's whether he wants to be in or not, you as a coach should see that he is not mentally in that game. He is frustrated and things are not working for him. And it's on you to replace him for the betterment of the whole team.
Yeah, and I say this all the time. It's one of my main talking points on goalies. Goalies do not know what is best for themselves as far as a workload. It's like asking a kid the amount of candy that they want. I mean, they will tell you a number, they'll tell you an amount, but it might not be the amount that is best for their long-term health. And it's the same with goalies and starts. They'll always tell you they want more, they want to be in the net, but you have to be the one to tell them, no, you got to sit this one out.
Yeah, exactly. A couple more super chats. Appreciate this, everybody. Russ, with the first one here, you asked who's the culprit. I'm doing the Bobby from Twin Peaks thing, is pointing at the management, coaching, and players and going, you want to know who killed Joey's save percentage? You did. We all did. I love the reference, by the way. R.I.P. David Lynch. I love the reference. And yes, that is very apt, Russ.
That is great. Yeah, could not have come with a better answer there, Russ. Absolutely love that. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, that is great. And you know what? I do think there's blame to go around. I definitely do.
Yeah, no, there is. Like I think we've basically talked about it, about all three of those entities so far tonight, and that's why we're at where we're at. And then Fox Leader with the super chat, really appreciate that. As a Utah resident, I've waited all year for this game. What an absolute heartbreaking game. 0 effort for 2 periods. Such a brutal experience. That is tough. Yeah, if you've been waiting all year for this one. I mean, we talked about it. It seems really deep in the year to have that first game in Utah. And then this is the game you get. It is not fair.
Yeah, I feel you there, Fox Leader. I mean, as someone who kind of grew up in enemy territory as a Sharks fan in LA, you know, when the Kings did well, I would hear about it from my friends that I was kind of surrounded with there. I was the only Sharks fan around. So I totally get it. I'm sure you're going to get chirped there a little bit on this game from some friends.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And it's going to be a long time too, with the off season about to hit before you're going to be able to see your team again. And I know it's just when you are far away like that and you're only going to get like one game in your building with your team, it's really tough if that one game is kind of a stinker the way this one is, right? Like it's your one opportunity to see your team and then it just goes down like this. It's not fun. You were smiling. Was there something down there?
No, I was just thinking about like you want it to count, right? It's the one game in that building. I was just thinking about like it sucks for all the Utah Kraken fans. And you could see them in the seats too. They were showing them on the broadcast. There was a fair amount of them too that showed up. I think they deserve better.
They did.
And it sounds like a lot of them came up to the John and Edzo and in the broadcast booth too. It sounded like they were just mobbed with Kraken fans, which is really cool to see that setup. I know you experienced that a bit in Arizona,
right?
You know, when they had the Coyotes playing there, and it was just that red velvet rope that separated everybody. Yes. But it was cool to see all the Kraken fans, like, you know, make an impact on the broadcasters. You know.
Right. No, and that's exactly the way it was in Arizona. Honestly, I think more buildings should be built that way. Like, I think it would be a lot of fun. I get why you wouldn't necessarily want it all the time, but I do think from time to time it is a good thing, and it's nice for the fans to be able to have that, and also for us on the media side of things to be able to, you know, hear directly from all the people that we're talking to. And I'm sure the broadcast felt the same way about that. All right, there's 10 minutes left. I've got like 75 comments here to go because there's so many. So I'm going to try to speed run this and try to find stuff that we haven't touched on yet because we have talked about a lot of it. Terrible Lotus. So do you think teams should be able to carry 3 goalies for situations like this and to give the other goalies more breaks?
I mean, I think you have the roster where you can go. You have a 23-man roster, so you can carry 3 goalies for a short amount of time. It's tough just because if you're carrying 3 goalies for a lot of time, it's hard to get them all in. And I know rotations are more common, but it's just not that usual of a situation. And you can still call up a goalie on an emergency basis like they did with Victor Osman, and it doesn't cost you a roster spot. So it does allow for that if you need somebody right away.
Yeah. Zach, it felt selfish from the front office or coaching staff trying to save their own jobs at the expense of Joey. I don't know that it's like totally them trying to save their own jobs, but it is certainly them trying to make things look better at the end of the year than it otherwise has been. And yes, Joey is the one that, like tonight, kind of got screwed by it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also it's just highlighting too how dependent, I guess, everything is on getting elite goaltending. And Joey's the only guy who can really give that to you over a long stretch. And so I think it shows maybe where people's heads are at as far as what the result would be if he wasn't playing.
Yeah, definitely. Big super chat here from Chuck. Appreciate it, Chuck. Hard to believe we only get 3 more therapy sessions with you guys this season. And hopefully, maybe knock on wood, they don't have to be therapy sessions. There's that. Shannon and I really appreciate you guys being there constantly, even if and especially when the Kraken aren't. You're very welcome, Chuck. Appreciate everything that you and Shannon do for our end. As you know, I've got Afra laying on the dog bed you kindly gave me after I moved up here. She's right beneath the desk, laying on that. Really appreciate having both of you in the community.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much. And yeah, I mean, you and Shannon are there consistently all the time in this community.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been meaning to tell you, I forgot, but Fuji loves the little catnip bubbles that you got. I've been meaning to send you pictures. I think I sent you one, but he was just meowing at them the other day and he just loves them.
Yeah. No, that is good stuff. That is good stuff. And yeah, Afra loved the treats. Junie loved the treats. All good stuff there. Terrible Lotus, is there a limit on the number of assistant coaches a team can have?
There is not. Most teams will kind of limit it to 3. I don't know that. Have you seen 4?
Well, okay, so like there would be more potential.
Well, there's like a video
coaches.
coach. There's
Yeah,
like
because you'll have
guys,
video coaches, goaltending coaches, and on the bench, you got skills coaches that aren't on the bench, right? Like there are other coaches around. So I guess like as for like officially labeled assistant coaches, I will say this: like I don't think you're going to see more than 4 on a bench during a game, even though there are maybe more around.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen more than 4 on a bench during a game. But yes, like you said, there are skills coaches, there's goalie coaches, all that stuff. But, speaking in terms of the Kraken, I mean, you could bring another coach on staff, for the power play I'm talking about, without getting rid of anybody that you have. But I think it would necessitate somebody coming off the bench, whether that was like a Dave Lowry or Woods or Jess or whoever, like someone would have to come off the bench.
Yeah. Like at some point, it is just there's too many people back there. Like,
Yes.
you can't do it. Burnt Creme, in the history of the NHL, the power play has about half a dozen ways, maybe a dozen different ways to play it. It's effort and skill. This team needs both. I mean, I do agree, right? Like there's only a handful of power play systems, right? And right now in the NHL, it's essentially one, like really for the most part. Like this is, it's really kind of narrowed down and become the most kind of standardized that we've seen the power play in a long time in the National Hockey League, which is why it comes down to what do you do within that setup? How can you find plays? Where can you put your players in the best position to create chances? And motivate them and teach them how to do that so that they can go out there and do that.
Yeah, and I think 2 things can be true simultaneously and are true in this case. One, the Kraken do not have the level of talent on the power play to achieve top flight results pretty much no matter what you do with them. But then also, I think this coaching staff is not getting the most out of the level of talent that they do have. I think both of those are true.
Yeah. No, I get that. And Jay asking who coaches the power play. It's Bob Woods is in charge, and then Jess Campbell assists on the power play, is how it was explained to us over the offseason.
Yep. And in practice, you can kind of see them splitting up with the 2 power play units, each working with one, and it'll swap.
Yep. Amanda, did you all imagine closing the season with us being happy with Berkey? I was going to say that Berkey was going to be the shining light on the team and our like glimmer of hope and positivity down the very end stretch of the season. Did any of us see that coming?
No, I really didn't. I'm kind of surprised that he's, in the lineup and, kind of getting top 6 opportunities still at this point from a few months ago. Given how he's played, I'm not surprised at all. He has earned it, every bit of it. But yeah, did not have that on my bingo card.
Yeah. Nobody's mentioned it, but I do want to kind of say this. I think if you had to give one sentence to kind of describe how this game went, as far as Utah showing up and the Kraken not showing up, and sorry to the player I'm going to single out here on the Kraken, Yamamoto put Josh Mahura down in this one, right?
I
He
know.
leveled him. That is not something that should ever happen. Like, nobody should be leveled by Yams.
Exactly. 5'8", 175. I think listed
Maybe
quite
that's
generously.
generous.
I think that is generous, yes, for Kyler Yamamoto. And on a reverse hit too, where Yamamoto kind of had the puck. That was
Yeah.
Mahura going. He didn't get caught off guard. He was the one trying to deliver the
Yes.
hit. Yeah, and I saw you put on the Discord, just when Yams is the one putting you down like that.
Yeah.
It's rough. And we know Mahura is no slouch either. Like, he can play physically.
Right.
He's had some of the bigger hits from the Kraken this season, but man, just got lit up on that play.
Yeah. No, if you get sit down by Yams, I mean, like, that tells you your night is not going well. And that
Is
that
it bad
happened
that I
to
kind
him.
of enjoyed that play?
Oh, I mean, it's fun, especially for, guys like us on the
And
smaller
having covered
side.
him
It's
too,
nice
like, he
seeing
was
it.
fun to talk to and everything. I just love seeing that for Yams, especially getting his chance in the lineup. He hasn't played at the NHL level most of
Right.
this season too. And that's the kind of thing that can stick in people's minds, as well as the power play goal and all that stuff. I like that he had a good showing tonight. The Kraken were never going to win given the effort. If they're going to lose like this, I would like Yamamoto to look good.
Yeah, and he got, comes back after the, taking the high stick from Jamie Alexiak, scores on that power play as well. Yeah, no, it was a good showing for him for sure. Jeremy, oh man, I just added up the goals for and goals against for the second half of our backs to backs. It's not pretty. You ready for these numbers, RJ?
Lay him on me.
17-49 goals for versus goals against. And that includes 4 shutouts for other teams shutting us out.
I think that's indicative. Honestly, I think that kind of tells the story. That is certainly how it has felt.
Yeah, like it really does feel that way, actually. Edward, on the second game of
And
a back-to-back, the Kraken have not missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
yep.
Also very true.
Yeah. And we got a super chat here from Zoe here asking, what's our take on the D pairs moving forward? I mean, I was going to say moving forward as in next season, because there's 3 games left. I don't think it matters a whole lot what the D pairs
Yeah.
are the rest of the season, except you got to play Cale Fleury. Fleury has to play all 3 of those games, that he's an RFA
Yep.
and not a UFA. So Cale Fleury should be involved there. But as for next season, I mean, Dunn Larson just is not being broken up. That's just not happening.
Right.
I feel like it's almost not worth talking about.
No,
It
you
won't
can
happen.
you can put it in with Penn now. That's happening.
Yes. And I want Evans Montour to work. It's not working given how Evans is playing right now. It
No.
just will not work right now. But given an entire offseason, several months to reset, I would like to see them try that to start things off next year. And I would also like to see Alexiak traded because he's an asset in cap space. You can't have the blue line be that expensive. So the third pair can be kind of whoever you bring in to replace him. And then, Mahura, Fleury, or somebody like that.
Yeah, if there's not going to be a significant change to the defensive system and style that you're going to be playing, I think you have to move on from Jamie Alexiak just because he just does not fit what you're trying to do right now. So it just makes sense for everybody involved to do that. I think that's what you do. I don't know. I'm starting to lose a lot of faith in Riker and kind of what he can be at the NHL level. And I think that he kind of has to be in a spot where he's the offensive guy out there. He's the puck mover out there. And I think that you maybe also have to shelter him in certain situations from an ice time or matchups perspective. And so maybe he's just your third pairing puck mover. And I know that that's not like great, but the only other time we've seen him play well is when he's paired with somebody like an Adam Larson, who can make up for his defensive deficiencies and put him in a spot where he is the puck mover for the pairing. That's the only other time that we've seen him kind of look good outside of being on that third pairing and playing with like a Josh Mahura or whatever. And so I think I'm just worried that is the only scenario in which Riker Evans is an effective NHL player. And so I don't know that I need to see more of him with Montour. I know he's been playing bad in it. I get what you're saying about it. I'm just starting to think that he doesn't have more than that.
Yeah, I don't know what to think, because I've seen him play better over long stretches, and it's in a different situation. But I feel like if you are pairing him with, say, an Adam Larson, like that can be a top four. That can be a second pairing. That can be a second D pair
Yes.
for you, and an affordable one, and one that you're probably okay with going forward. So I don't hate it there, but the way he's playing right now, it's just he's not going to work with anybody. And so,
Mhm.
given that his contract is up, it's going to lead to some interesting discussions, I think, for both of us as we kind of do deeper dives on it once the season's over. Like, okay, what would you pay him? Would you give him the term and money that he might ask for?
Right. I don't know that I would, just because I think that he maxes out at top 4 potential, right?
Yeah.
Like at second pairing, minutes is I think his max, and he has to be the guy on that pairing in order for it to work. That's too narrow a scope for me to commit to somebody with large cap hit for long term.
So this is one of those tough decisions that the GM has to make. Do you go long term or short term? And it's a big bet to make on a player like that. And so that's just going to be one of the challenges this offseason.
Right. And I think, I know you don't have a ton of defensive prospects in the pipeline, but I look at like how Ty Nelson has been playing in Coachella Valley this year, and his ability to lead offense and drive offense from the back end. And he's definitely going to have limitations of his own at the NHL level. I don't even know that he would necessarily end up better than Riker, but I think that he might be like a more efficient, or certainly for the play style that this team wants to have under Coach Dan Bosma, a guy like that probably makes more sense for you than a guy like Riker, all things considered equal.
Yeah.
Just because of the pace of play and the style, the overall style.
Yeah. Although when you're talking about a few years down the road, no coach is safe for that length of time. And so, you
I
never
don't
know.
know. It's got to be that far down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you move on from Alexiak, you don't re-sign Mahura, you've got 2 spots.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, if you're just looking at next season, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we'll see in training camp and preseason and all that kind of stuff. So we shall see. I think that's going to do it for this Emerald City Hockey post-game live. Really appreciate everybody for joining us after this one, going through this group therapy session all together, and just, we're surviving. We're all surviving the season. We're surviving the back-to-backs. And hey, good news, we don't have to deal with a back-to-back until next October, probably.
Yes. Thank goodness this is the last one of the season for the back-to-backs. But appreciate the lively chat, everybody. This was awesome. Good discussions were had. Lots of super chats. Honestly, go 7-1 loss. I beforehand, if we had to, I probably would have put the over-under at like 1.5 super chats, if that. And you guys just blew right on past that. So appreciate that from everybody who gave super chats as well. And you know what? You can watch the next game with us with the Kraken take on Vegas in a couple days, and if necessary, commiserate together, but hopefully it'll be more of the dance party variety.
Yes, I just give us a better game than this, which should be doable. It's a pretty low bar they set for themselves with this one. Appreciate all the super chats and everybody joining us for that. Appreciate Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring us. Not only do they have that awesome burger of the month, their play on the Big Mac with the Big Smack Burger, but tomorrow there is no Kraken game, but it's Wing Wednesday at both Queen Anne Beer Hall and Moss Bay Hall. And as somebody who has taken part of that twice in the last month, let me tell you, it's worth it.
Yeah, I even took part of Wing Wednesday. I got the lemon pepper. It was really good. I know you had your buffalo. Totally worth it.
Yeah, and I did hear lots of people enjoying the lemon pepper wings there at both watch parties as well. In addition to yourself, they were definitely talked up. I can't not go with Buffalo. I'm like
That's your
contractually
thing. I got it.
obligated, but I will say everybody I talked to was recommending it. So definitely check that out, everybody, for sure. Thanks everybody so much for joining us, and we'll see you all on Thursday.